Like Heather said, I'm Anna Severance. I'm on the menu and nutrition team at Revolution Foods. I'm a registered dietitian with experience working in food service, both at the school district level, as well as at the vended meal side of things here at Revolution Foods. If you asked me in a sentence or less to tell you why I love coming to work every day, it's quite simply that I really want nothing more than to see children and young adults building healthy relationships with food. And most of all, that they eat, not just eat, but also love their fruits and vegetables every single day. So today I will be focusing on one way to get students to eat more fruit, and that is through fresh cut fruit. So I hope to answer the following questions about fresh fruit and a new opportunity that Revolution has for you, our partners. So first of all, I want to talk about why fruit, and in particular, why fresh cut fruit. And once I tell you about our new program, I will give you details to answer things like what's available, how you can order, what additional documentation might be needed for this new program, and finally, how this new program can be covered financially. So let's talk about current state and recommendations. So the reality is that 9 out of 10 Americans are not eating their recommended dose of fruits and vegetables every single day. The dietary guidelines for Americans, those are the guidelines that are published every 5 years based on the most current and robust scientific reviews, make the connection between health and food. So their recommendation is 2 full cups of fruit every single day to be consumed as a part of a healthy American diet. Relating that to the child nutrition programs, the federal child nutrition programs, if a child were to enjoy all of the federal child nutrition programs during the day, so that's breakfast, lunch, snack, and supper, they would have the opportunity to consume and even exceed that minimum recommendation of 2 cups. So taking a look at this table, if you can see the quantities offered, you would get a full cup at breakfast, you would get a half cup to 1 full cup at lunch, depending on the grade group. You'd get 3/4 cup at snack and 1/2 cup of fruit at supper. So totaling this all together and depending on the grade group at lunch, that's going to total between 2 3/4 cup and 3 1/4 cup available for eating every single day. So why do we care so much about fruit? Well, fruit and vegetables are foundational to a healthy dietary pattern. So beyond the basic nutrition needs, meaning the calories and carbohydrates that are found in the fruits and vegetables, it's that nutrient density in the fruits that really matters. That means that you're getting a lot of nutritional bang for your buck, if you will. So if you think about the 70 calories that are coming from a large apple, they're going to be doing a lot more for your body and working a lot harder than those same 70 calories that are coming from, let's say, half of an Oreo. And that's because of all of the micronutrients like antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and that ever important fiber that's found in fruits and vegetables. So these nutrients are the key players really in promoting things like healthy immune systems, reducing inflammation, and promoting healthy gut microbiomes, which ultimately in aggregate are preventing disease. So, not to put too fine a point on it, but consuming fruits and vegetables at the recommended quantities are ultimately going to help prevent chronic disease that are the leading cause of premature mortality. I included on this slide a snip from the White House conference on hunger, health, and nutrition and health. which took place a month or so ago. And this conference brought together the stakeholders to address food insecurity and diet-related diseases. The stated goal is to end hunger and increase healthy eating and physical activity by 2030, so that fewer Americans experience diet-related diseases like diabetes, obesity, and hypertension. So why did I bring this up? Well, fruit, of course. Fruit is called out as part of the solution to meet this goal by 2030. They amplified the research that's presented in the dietary guidelines and have stated that half the plate of Americans should be fruits and vegetables. So this, of course, isn't new. You can see in the top corner the My Plate, which was replaced by replaced the My Pyramid in 2011, that depicts that half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. So I've talked about the benefits of fruit and how much fruit is offered in schools, but we need to talk about that disconnect between the ample amount of fruit that is offered each day at schools versus that dreary reality that 9 out of 10 Americans are not eating enough fruit, and also what you're likely seeing in your own cafeterias, that the kids are not taking all of the fruit that's being offered to them. So here's the bottom line. Kids prefer fruit that is pre-sliced or cut. There's a lot of research that's been done on this. About a decade ago, there was an organization called the Smarter Lunchroom Movement that was out of Cornell University that really took a closer look at this through the lens of behavioral economics. And so behavioral economics is understanding why people behave the way that they do in the real world. So it's about answering questions like, why don't more people floss their teeth every day? Or why don't people exercise regularly every single day, despite the mountain of evidence to support both being a good idea? So bringing back this behavioral economics back to school and food, the folks at the Smarter Lunchroom found that it's not enough to know the importance of eating fruits and vegetables. It's more that the students need to feel good about eating the fruits and vegetables and all of the food that they're eating. And the set and setting have to make it easy and enjoyable and automatic to consume. There are other studies that I've listed here that have empirically found the same. So the first study was a head-to-head comparison. It took a look at 6 public schools in New York. It was about 10 years ago. 3 of the schools were the control schools, and they were served whole apples. And then the other 3 were served the sliced apples for lunch. And the results were that the percentage of students who selected the apples and ate more than half increased by 73% at schools that served that pre-sliced fruit. Another study that had a similar setup at the elementary schools looked at plate waste, and they found that pre-slicing versus serving the fruit whole was associated with increased consumption, almost 2.5 times higher consumption of that pre-sliced fruit versus the whole fruit. And then the final study took a look at the waste, and they found that by serving the pre-sliced fruit, they saw a 39% decrease in the fruit waste at in the trash cans around the share tables. So with all of this data, you might be asking, why aren't schools exclusively serving pre-sliced and cut fruit? The answer is usually twofold. It's not always possible to execute, and importantly, it's expensive. As your vended meal provider at Revolution Foods, we understand that students are looking for more variety, and they're looking for this pre-cut sliced fruit. but it's largely due to the surging costs of the labor and the food costs and the packaging that it isn't, this cut fruit isn't an option within our current per meal pricing structure. But we know that it's important, and so we are proud and happy to provide a solution in our new fresh cut fruit program. So the exciting part, you can now order fresh cut fruit from us to supplement your breakfast and lunch programs at your schools. Some of the amazing fruit that is already available for you to order are strawberries, grapes, apple slices, and orange wedges. As the seasons change, so too will the availability of these of the fruit and the type of fruit. We're working closely with our food processors to make sure that we're only serving what's fresh and what will hold up in schools over the course of a couple of days. So these are ready now for purchase now on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays of each week. And you're able to order them by the half cup portion. It's an individual portion in quantities that make sense to you and your sites. It's important to note that we will continue to offer our whole fruits as part of our regular fruit rotation. I know I've shared a lot of data about fresh cut fruit, and I don't want to contradict myself. But you happen to be looking at someone who looks forward to eating her whole apple every single day. And I know I'm not the only one. So really, to use the words of the CDE, this new program of fresh cut fruit isn't meant to supplant our whole fruit program and offerings, but to supplement it. So we're really trying and hoping that this fresh cut fruit opportunity will entice students who aren't interested in the, let's say, beauty of the whole fruit to take a portion of this new fresh cut fruit kind. And so ultimately, we're hoping that it will help increase overall participation. So that's the program. I can show you how to order it. It's ready now. So if you are ordering from Apple Core, on the ordering page for, like I said, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, on the lunch menu, if you scroll all the way to the bottom where the a la carte section is, you'll see the section that says food service/retail, and you will be able to enter the quantity by the each of the premium cut fruit that you want per day, and it's got the price included on it. And so that's in Apple Core. If you are ordering from Marketplace, it's a very similar process. You'll go to the lunch order page on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Scroll all the way to the bottom to the menu add-ons section, and you'll see the fresh cut fruit section where you can enter the quantity that you would like to enter. All right. So one note, if you are not seeing this on your order screens, please make sure to reach out to your customer service team. It might just be a matter of a button that hasn't been clicked to subscribe you to the menu. One other note is that on both of these screens, you will see that it does not list the specific type of fruit. And that's because we are working so closely with our the produce companies that we're not able to always to update it in the systems. But on Mondays, you should be able to reach out to your customer service team member and ask them what the fruits of the week will be that will be coming towards you. So, as I mentioned a few times today, this fresh cut fruit program is not replacing the existing fruit rotation. However, if you are planning on serving it on the lunch line next to the whole fruit that you're getting, you may want to decrease the quantity of the whole fruit that you're receiving. You can do this if you are operating an offer versus serve program for breakfast or lunch. And I have SNPs here for both systems, whether you're working in Marketplace or in Apple Core. So in Marketplace, you just simply go to the change fruit and vegetable percentages to adjust the percentages. And then in Apple Core, you go under the schools, manage schools, and you can click on that offer versus serve button to adjust the percents of fruits that are coming your way. So whether the fruit is on the regular fruit rotation or from this new fresh cut program, it's important to keep in mind that the rules of offer versus serve still stand. So for breakfast, every student must have at least a half a cup of fruit on their tray. And for lunch, every student must have at least half a cup of fruit or a vegetable on their tray. So that is to say that you'll need to be careful and mindful about how much you're reducing these percentages to ensure compliance. Documentation. So since not everyone is going to be getting this fruit and not everyone is going to be using this as part of their reimbursable meal, we aren't able to automatically update your, add it to and update your production record. So if you're planning on making this part of your reimbursable meal, you will need to keep track of the number of servings ordered, as well as the number of servings offered onto your production record. So if you're ordering through Apple Core and your production records are coming through Primero Edge, you can use your login, and when you're doing the production record every day, you can add to the fruit section in the comments just a note to self and for an auditor that you added, there was an additional 100 half cup servings of diced melon, for example, or grapes or whatever it is. And that way you can keep track of it and not forget it. And then if you are ordering through Marketplace and you're getting these transport records or the daily production records, they're going to come as a separate sheet of paper. And just make sure that you are keeping it with your lunch production record or your lunch transport record. So the bottom line is, if you want to use this, this fruit for part of the reimbursable meal, you absolutely have to document on your production records that you use X number of portions for this meal service on X date. The last thing I will talk about is the funding. So this is an additional charge in addition to the meal price at 90 cents per unit. And so we are lucky in California that we have higher reimbursement rates than we've ever seen, ever. And hopefully some of that money will be able to be used to purchase this. Also, general funds can be used to purchase this fresh fruit. The other thing that we would encourage you to use is the supply chain assistance funds. If supply chain assistance funds is unfamiliar to you, I will give you a quick review of what this amazing program is. So back in December 2021, it was announced as part of the kind of package to rehabilitate schools after the pandemic, that $1 billion in funding was going to be given directly to school food authorities who serve breakfast and lunch to address the supply chain disruptions brought on by the pandemic and to support the purchase of food for school meals. So it was $1 billion additional in the beginning. In July 2022, they announced an additional $943 million of funding. And then in September, they added an additional $471 million in funding to this program. So if you are a school and you are serving breakfast and or lunch through the school breakfast program or the National School Lunch Program, you are eligible for these funds and you need to apply, because the base rate for every single school in America is $5,000. And then there is the calculation based on essentially the size of your district or the number of meals that you're serving, to add on top of that base $5,000. So at minimum, at $5,000, 90 cents a serving, you're getting more than 5,000 servings of this amazing fresh cut fruit that you could offer. So the supply chain assistance funds are earmarked specifically for unprocessed and minimally processed domestic goods. And so we're making sure that the fresh cut fruit meets both of those criteria. And then the documentation needed to support the use of these funds is twofold. One is those production records that I mentioned to make sure that the fresh cut fruit that you're serving makes it onto the production records. And then two, the invoice that you use to prove that you purchased this fresh fruit from us. For both, if you're getting from the Better For You or Revolution Foods, the fresh cut fruit will come in an itemized list. It'll be a separate invoice than your regular school meals. So just make sure to keep track of those. And then the last thing about the supply chain assistance funds is that it can be a lot of money for some school districts, and maybe overwhelming to use, but it doesn't expire. So that's kind of, I think, a misconception out there that that it'll expire at the end of the year, but you can continue to use this. So I have told you about why fresh fruit is amazing, why fresh cut fruit is even better, how you can order it, and what you need to do to implement it. That concludes everything that I am excited to share. Do we have any questions or thoughts?
We do, Anna. So one comes from actually the production side of things. We'll see if you can answer it. If not, Jason will respond to you after the webinar concludes. But in which way is the fruit delivered? Is it delivered in packaging that's recycling? Are they single serve, or are they more of a bulk serving?
My understanding is, I just asked the procurement team before this, is it's individual portions. So it'll be half cup servings, individual portions. I don't know if it'll be in like a plastic cup or some kind of a wrap or a little packet, but it'll be individual portions.
Okay, so we half answered Jason's question. We'll answer the second component in a follow-up. Sometimes we have to do some digging. But Eric asked a question that I think is just a good point to go back to and kind of reiterate, which is around the fresh fruit option being reimbursable. So there were two components that you mentioned if using SCAF funds, and one component if they're just using general funds. So Anna, can you talk about that a little bit more and review some of those high points?
Yep. So if general funds are being used, you can serve it as in addition to, you can sell it on a la carte or as a smart snack or in your supper or snack program. But if you're using the supply chain assistance funds, it has to be the stipulation of the supply chain assistance funds is that it's part of the reimbursable meal. And so you need to make sure that on the lunch line, when students are coming up, that it's next to the whole apples that we're sending, that they're offered essentially 2 fruits for that day, and that it needs to be recorded as in the production record, as well as keeping those invoices. And according to all of the USDA webinars that I have attended, that is enough to prove essentially that the fruit was served as part of the meal, and therefore the money can be spent on that fruit. But if it's general funds, you can do whatever you want with it.
Another question that I think is a good one to revisit. So I go into Marketplace or Apple Core, I go to add the fresh fruit component to my menu, but it's not there. What do I do if I don't see it there in my ordering interface?
Yes, contact your customer service team member. And I know from Apple Core, for example, it's like a separate menu, and you just have to the school has to be subscribed. And so I know they've done they're an earnest effort of getting everyone who could qualify subscribed, but they might have missed some. So it'll be just a 1 minute click and button push to get you subscribed.
And when we send out the recording to this webinar, we also created a set of instructions initially when we rolled out this program. So we'll be sure to include those ordering instructions for both interfaces with the webinar recording. So you'll have a step-by-step screenshotted view into how you go through that process too. So that will be shared as well. I believe that does it, Anna, for all of the questions. There might be questions when there's one more coming in, so we'll get back to that. But if you get all of the information in your webinar package here and you have questions, that's what we're here for. As Anna mentioned, you can reach out to your customer service rep and they'll be happy to help. You can always just hit reply to the email and we'll be sure to get your question off to the right place too. But final question, Eric wins. So are all of the fruit provided USDA compliant?
Yes. So grown in America, minimally processed are the only, like that, we won't buy it and sell it unless it's those two things.
All right, Anna, thank you for sharing all this information. And I'm thankful for all of you as well for taking a half an hour out of your busy days to join us around this topic. We hope that you found it helpful, and we'll be sure to share both the recording and all the resources that we mentioned throughout today's webinar with you soon. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.